I'm a member of a Red Sox nation. It's a kind of insanity. Yeah, I live and die with Red Sox pride for eternity. I fake a smile November until opening day. Suffering baseball withdrawal around the clock. When April comes, hey, meet me down on Yawkey Way. That's when Red Sox Nation starts to rock. I'm a member of a Red Sox nation. It's a kind of a family. Wherever I roam, up and way home, that's where I long to be. I'm a member of a Red Sox nation. It's a kind of insanity. I live and die with Red Sox pride for eternity.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 75 of the Avid Boston Podcast, soon to be renamed, presented by AVIDBOSTON.com. For those of you staying up late tonight watching on Facebook Live and Periscope, this episode will be uploaded to SoundCloud and iTunes at the conclusion of this broadcast. You can also find it on Spreaker, Player FM, and YouTube, iHeartRadio as well. And in both of the windows on Periscope and Facebook Live, you can find the iTunes link as well. So if you haven't been there yet, please like it, subscribe to it, and give a rating too if you have a couple of seconds. Joining me, as always, is my two co-hosts, Dave Kwiatkowski and Austin Hartsfield. Dave, how are you?
Been better.
Been better. Yeah.
Sound like me.
Well, this time I can actually say it.
Yeah.
I made the comment last week that it was like they get more depressing every show. This one's going to be really depressing.
This one's going to be a little sad.
Could be. And for anyone looking for more Red Sox and basically NBA, NFL content, NHL as well, you can hear that on the Double Coverage podcast. Austin.
That's why I got Dave.
Okay.
That's true.
Sounded like you just had an orgasm there.
I think there's a video on the channel called How to Hockey with Dave Kwiatkowski. So.
That's true. I taught the boys how to hockey a little bit.
It's one of my favorite episodes too.
Oh, there you go. Bruins just had some type of an event before training camp or whatever. I was noticing on this, but anyway, let me get into the Red Sox recap before we start crying about everything. Game 1, Hector Velázquez got the start, went 2 2/3 innings, gave up 9 hits, horrifically gave up 8 runs, all earned, walked 2, struck out 4. Perez, Gomez, and Adames did most of the damage, 8 RBIs between them. Bogarts, Martinez drove in all 3 of the Red Sox runs, which came off of Jalen Beeks, who went 5 1/3. Sox weirdly out-hit the Rays in that game, 13-12, 10-3 was the final. Rick Porcello got the start in Game 2, went 5 innings, gave up 6 hits, 3 runs, all earned. Struck out 8. That was probably the most winnable game for the Sox. Porcello was basically pitching 5 full innings of 1-run ball. Came out to start the 6th and allowed Kiermaier and Adames to reach. And Alex Cora pulled him real quick. Got the quick hook there. Brazier came in. That should have been a good choice, but allowed a run on a wild pitch, and then a sacrifice fly brought in Kiermaier. Red Sox lost that one 5-1, and then today was an absolute bloodbath. Nathan Eovaldi got the start, only went 4 innings, gave up 8 hits, allowed 6 runs, 5 of them earned. Still struck out 5, but still a rough start. Barnes and Hembree both gave up 3 runs between them in relief, and the Sox only had 3 hits all day. Final score was 9-1. So probably the worst series of the year since we officially got swept. But the offense was pretty bad. Pitching wasn't great. So we'll get into it, and but not before we get through shout-outs and call-outs. So take us through it, Dave.
Yeah, for our shout-out this week, there aren't many, but I'm going to give my shout-out to Blake Snell, who pitched, very well against the Red Sox. The Red Sox played awful. So I want to give a shout-out to a guy who's been impressive all year, and that's Blake Snell. He's been a legitimate ace on a Tampa Bay team that is contending here at some point. They won't be this year, but next year they will be. Terry had a great tweet saying that, Tampa Bay is going to be a fucking juggernaut soon. And while I think they're going to be really, really good, I don't know if they'll be that big because they just don't bring in big players. But they will be a thorn in our side for the next 10 years or so. And Blake Snell will be a big part of that. He's on a great contract. The guy can just throw heat and just has a disgusting changeup. Just a typical Rays pitcher. And I know that Austin's been high on him all year. And I'm glad that, a big market got to see him pitch because he really is phenomenal and continuing to do it even coming after off his DL stint.
Yeah, he's an ace, plain and simple. He does it with his changeup, and he's just going to blow you away otherwise.
Yeah, and before today, we had kind of knocked him around a little bit, and I think that's what made today's start even more impressive. He just seemed to figure it out and completely shut us down. So
he looked extremely impressive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he looked very comfortable. Him and Evaldi both threw 89 pitches today, and a lot different story for those 89 pitches. But Austin, who's your shout out?
Let's talk about a guy that has pitched, I think, once since Saturday. Kimbrel comes in, gets on the mound, does his little bird-looking thing, and strikes out 3 guys. It's good to see him actually looking crisp. I know it wasn't a high-leverage situation. It really wasn't a situation at all, but he still looked good.
I think that's my favorite thing about it is that he hasn't pitched in 8 games or 8 days, whatever it was. And, no difference really. And he comes in and strikes out the side, but he does it in a non-save situation where this is his biggest issue as a closer. I think the 2 biggest issues with him are, A, his postseason record isn't amazing like the rest of the pitching staff on this team. But the biggest thing is that he can't do multiple innings and he can't come into non-save situations. And it's great to see him today come into a basically a pride moment there for the Red Sox. Saying, all right, we're not going to go down without a fight. We're going to give our guys some work. And he excelled and kind of showed me a little bit saying, hey, since the All-Star break, he's been better and he's getting there and he's figured it out after his first couple weeks, struggling. But it's good. It's a bright spot to see him do well in a non-save situation.
And it's not just him when it comes to non-save situation. That's been a problem with closers basically since the position was invented. I mean, if it's not a save situation, they don't come out with the same mindset and they don't look the same.
Another thing, too, to consider is he hasn't really been that great since the All-Star break, so maybe this little reset he had could do him some good as we close out the season here. So,
gotta hope so.
Yeah. My shout-out will go to J.D. Martinez, who in the last week has hit .440 and basically been the best hitter on the team and hasn't hit any home runs, which is the only unfortunate thing for everybody, hoping he might be able to pull off the Triple Crown at the end of the year. Chris Davis, I think, is still ahead of him, but he's still finding ways to get on base, and I just think he's one of the best. I think he is the best hitter on this team because he can hurt the opposing pitcher in several different ways. He can crush it to the opposite field, and then to the left side of the field. He can slap the ball, for a base hit. I'm just really impressed with him, and I figured he was call-out worthy.
Well, he is the best hitter on this team right now because he didn't go cold for an entire week.
Entire week? How about since the All-Star break?
Yeah.
But JD is the best hitter in baseball, at least this year. And over the past 5 years, he's been the tops of the league in OPS. And he does it all. Like you said, Terry, he can slap one to right, he can pull one over the monster, he can put one dead center. It doesn't matter. He's such a good pure hitter, and I think that's what makes him the best hitter in the league, is that he can do it all. You know, he's not just like a Chris Davis who's just going to hit home runs, or he's not just like a Bogarts of the last couple of years where he's going to bat 320, but all singles and 10 home runs, basically. So he can do it all, and he can hurt you in all different ways, singles, doubles, home runs. You know, it doesn't matter. He can pinch hit. He doesn't need protection. He's unbelievable. So he definitely worth it, and he can pull off the Triple Crown, especially with Mookie dipping a little bit in the batting average since he was the only guy above him. And you know, now he's in first place now, I believe, or a point behind.
And he does it to all fields. That's the most important thing. Like, they can't shift on him. They try, but they really can't, because he can put the ball wherever he wants.
Right, and I was kind of concerned about that. I'm like, oh, geez, he's going to left now, so has he lost the ability to go opposite field? And he really hasn't. You know, he's just putting the ball wherever he has to, and having a hell of a year. So
he's my picture perfect, you know, definition of when people say they can't hit away from a shift. It's him. This guy literally will do it. He will go 4 for 4 singles in one game if that's what they give him. He does not try and take anything more that they give, and teams adjust to it. So because they're like, well, you can't just do it all the time. We'll just keep popping him over there. So for people that say, oh, the shifts, you got to take it out of the game, you don't. You just got to be more like JD Martinez.
He's got to be a better hitter.
Yeah, just be better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the next part of the segment is obviously call-outs, and we just alluded to it a little bit there, but my call-out's going to be Mookie Betts. Since the All-Star break, he's been batting around 280, which sounds good, but when you're batting 355, 52 going into it, it's a big slump. He's gone completely cold with the long ball. I believe he's had 3 or 4 home runs since the All-Star break, and a lot of warning track power, which is great for guys like JBJ and Devers who are getting their swing back, but for an MVP candidate and the best overall player on the team, we need a little bit more out of him. He just isn't doing enough in that leadoff spot to help the team. He's batting 285, which is good. I mean, that's solid. It's almost 300, right? But he's had opportunities with guys on base. The bottom of the order actually has been decent and actually good since the All-Star break, and he just hasn't brought him around. So Mookie definitely needs to step it up, especially if a team's going to slump like it did. It needs a spark. They talked about it on the broadcast yesterday all the time. We need a spark. We need a spark. Yeah, we know. Mookie Betts is the guy that needs to spark the team. He needs to get on, steal some bags. He still won this series, but he was on pace for close to 40 home runs. Now he's on pace more for 35, which is still amazing, but he needs to get back on to, you know, really getting a hold of some balls and slugging more.
I mean, this team runs on him. Like, you know, JD can do whatever he wants. He can be a rock star, but Mookie is the engine of this team. When Mookie struggles, this team tends to struggle, and that's usually how it goes.
With the strikeouts too, you know, that's definitely concerning, and so it's hard to tell if it's just a slump, if other pitching staffs have them figured out, and now maybe Mookie needs to figure out what adjustments need to be made to kind of regain the edge. But definitely not a good stretch for him, and I wouldn't call him an elite talent. I would call him a generational talent. You know, one of the, you know, top 5, 6, or 7. Yeah,
5-tool. Yeah,
yeah. Of the
he's
last
a 5-tool player. You think of those players that are there. You think of Trout. You think of him. Maybe Bryce Harper. You know, then that list gets small and small very fast.
Right. So, and you know, we're not going to go deep in the postseason if he can't figure it out. So. Hopefully he does.
Hopefully, Austin. Who's your call out?
You know, we've talked about playoffs for pretty much every podcast leading up to this one. Brandon Workman is working for a spot in the playoffs, and giving up a home run in a series where everything else has gone bad is not a good thing to happen to him. You know, you're trying to earn your spot. You go out there for one inning and you give up a home run. Not a good look. Very nitpicky, but you know, you got to find something.
Yeah, I mean, in a time where you could basically call it the entire team because we're getting swept, and at that point, no one deserves it. but you look at